Good morning, everyone. I appreciate the welcome. Because of the 5 I will have now done, this one seems to be the most difficult for me. And having said that, I want you to know that this is getting to feel almost like a second home up here. And unfortunately, I didn't ask to come today.
Looking for a pastor here, Mike.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I did not ask to come here today. I'm telling you right now, because I have given you 4 testimonials already here, and they have all been about the things that I was or am, which included, as I told you, a whore, a self-serving person who missed the chance to help his own children have a faith in the Lord, like I believe I was given by my Father to have a chance, and how I suffer from what I referred to as my eye addiction. So I apologize, but these tears are of joy. I came prepared, so worry not. It was much easier telling you about the problems in my life over the years than I feel it's going to be about telling you about the progress, which is why I feel I'm here today. So, I want you to know, first of all, before I start, I want to see a show of hands of everybody that's been up here and done one. Just raise your hand if you've been up here and done one. That's pretty good, but there's a lot more of you that didn't raise your hand than did. And to prevent me from having to have this as a second home, all you got to do is volunteer. So, having said this, I want you to know that because of a testimonial given by a lady here that gave me the faith I feel I have now and a guideline for what I believe it means to me to be a Christian, I'm going to read to you what she gave to me. This is an online prayer, but somebody made changes to the version she had, and it has meant a lot to me over the last 5 years. And it reads, "When I say I am a Christian, I'm not shouting that I'm clean living. I'm whispering I was lost, but now I'm found and forgiven. When I say I'm a Christian, I don't speak of this with pride. I'm confessing that I stumble and need Christ to be my guide. When I say I'm Christian, I'm not trying to be strong. I'm confessing that I'm weak and need his strength to carry on. When I say I'm a Christian, I'm not bragging of success. I'm admitting I've failed and need God to clean up my mess. When I say I'm Christian, I'm not claiming to be perfect. My flaws are far too visible, but God believes I'm worth it. When I say I'm Christian, I still feel the sting of pain. I have my share of heartaches, so I call upon his name. When I say I'm Christian, I'm not holier than thou. I'm just a simple sinner who received God's grace somehow. But in conclusion, I would like to say I am humbled and blessed and can still come out like a lion because I am protected by the Lamb." And I think that if we can all get to that point, it will help us all be better Christians. So now, I'm still not sure of many things, but I know my sin is still great. But I do know I understand much better what the Lord expects of me. I also know for a fact that I have grown, but I still have a very long ways to go. But I remember, for me, this is not about perfection. This is about growing. Now, what I can tell you about growing is that you need to remember that in growth, this is what happens. With growth demands a temporary surrender of your security, and growth is the only evidence that your life is changing. So keep that in mind about growth. It can be painful, but it's the proof that your life is changing. So, now, what I'm going to do is, I gave you what a lady gave me from a testimonial that has helped me with what I'm doing. And now I'm going to give to you more about the changes in my life that came from a sermon that I heard here that had to do with the 9 fruits of the Spirit and what they now mean to me and what I have an understanding of what they are in trying to be a Christian. And I start with love. Love is to seek the highest good for those, no matter their behavior. But we also must be careful how close we stand to those who would weaken your faith. And sometimes that can be a tough choice, and I face that all the time. But you have to remember, reaching out to those with bad behavior to help them be better will always be the Christian thing to do. Now, joy and peace, I lumped them together because for me, what is my faith that I have grown over the last 5 years means to me is that when I'm unhappy about what I didn't get and what I wanted because of my eye addiction, that I now find that there can be a joy and peace that is missing when I'm unhappy because of what I didn't get. And that's where joy and peace ring true for us Christians if we have a strong faith. 4, patience. Not striking out at those who have wronged us, to be slow to anger. I feel like that was part of what might be in my DNA because my patience is good, but it can be broken, and I have a tendency to do it depending on how much I love you. So patience can be broken, but it is improving for me. Kindness. Kindness is actually goodness in action. Helping those who have taxed my patience, I believe, only comes through my stronger faith. This can still be selective, depending on whether I like you or not. So there is much work, as you can see, to do. Now, goodness. Goodness is actually a moral excellence, which, with all the bad habits I've got, I fall extremely short of yet, but feel like I'm in the right direction, because goodness and moral excellence means that you have your conduct under control. I feel a long ways from that. I have way too many bad habits yet, but I do feel like through my faith that is getting better. Faithfulness. What does faithfulness actually mean? I learned right here in this church that what it needed to mean to me was that through my strong faith that Jesus died on the cross and raised from the dead so that I could be forgiven for my sins. And I can tell you right now that that's never been stronger in my life, and I take much joy from that. So that's why I warned you, sometimes the tears are of joy, not of sadness. So, I do believe in the Big Bang. He just happened to be it, and that's where the light came from when this earth got started. Gentleness. Gentleness means, in part, be humble. Here's one I feel miserably at. I am so terrible at this one, it is almost unforgivable still, I believe. I once had someone tell me that the only thing bigger than my waistline was my ego. I weighed 275 pounds at the time, by the way. I am down to 239, and I hope to believe that they both have shrunk, and not just the weight of my big head. So there is some admission to just how much I still sin, but how much this has meant to me these last 5 years. Self-control being the final one, it means being able to control one's thoughts and actions. This is the key to all above, and the path is narrow, and I fall from that path way too often, but I'm better about knowing when I have fallen and need to get up and try again and ask for the forgiveness of everyone around me, including the Lord, for what I have done. So improvement, but a long ways to go. And lastly, when Ron called me and asked me if I had maybe something else to talk about, here is a major failure for me over the last year. The last year has been a tough one again because of my eye addiction, which is about wanting what I want rather than putting my faith in the Lord. I spent way too much of the last year working for what I wanted and not reaching out to Him and putting it into His hands. I did pray to Him, and for whatever reason, once again, a Lord that in my lifetime has been extremely good to me. He granted me my prayer. And I made a promise to him during the time I reached out to him and asked him that I promised my Heavenly Father, I told him I will use my work of 45 years reaching out to all the people I have met with his message that through him and not myself can all things be possible. So, that was my promise to my Heavenly Father. I got here with you folks because I came back to church because of a promise I made to my earthly father that if he quit smoking, I would return to church. That one took me 13 years to keep, and he had already passed away by the time I did it. I do believe this time, with my promise to my Heavenly Father, that time is wasting, and that's why I'm here talking to you today, because this is what I know for a fact. I'm going to give it to you in a prayer because these are the things that I think have happened in my last 5 years that makes these things possible for me. So this is a prayer of strength and thanks. Lord, give me the strength to carry your message to all I can touch. Lord, I thank you for all our pastors for helping me hear your message. Also, Lord, our band for helping me praise you. Lord, also thanks to all the people of this church for making me comfortable enough to come and tell them about my newfound faith in you. And Lord, a special thanks to a new friend named Terry Little, who is so good at reminding me how weak I am, but how strong you are. And I say to the rest of you now, go Chiefs, and thank you for listening.